How's it going, guys? You Ottawa Scotty here. We're going to talk about some difficult Canadian politics right now. Um, so, I don't have a lot of American subscribers, and the United States seems to have some political challenges on a regular basis, but Canada is really, it seems pretty chill up here in Canada. And it is. We've got a lot of space, and definitely is an awesome country to live in. But we definitely have our problems too, our political problems. And one of them is a recent problem that is kind of unopened wounds from the past. So in the 90s, we had a referendum in Canada where the province of Quebec actually wanted to separate from the rest of the country. Quebec wanted to be its own country, essentially. Why? I have no idea. And I think a lot of the people in Quebec actually had no idea too. But surprisingly, I think a lot of the English-speaking people in Canada were pretty surprised to see how much support there was for that. And consequently, there was a lot of fallout from that referendum, and a lot of, I want to say, bad blood that was sown in the early 90s between the French and the English speaking. I don't think that the English have any problem with the French, but the French speaking people, some of them, not all of them, seem to have a huge problem with English people or the English language, or I'm not sure, but from what I can understand, it seems like the French-speaking population of Canada seem to think that their culture and their language is in danger, I'm not sure. I mean, look, if you're a French-speaking person and you can elaborate on this and explain what exactly it is that is the concern, then please do so, because I've heard a few arguments, but really none of them really make a whole lot of sense to me. And really, that whole thing that happened in the 90s hurt the province of Quebec a lot. There were a lot of Montreal is a big city right on the St. Lawrence. It is a shipping center, a center for a lot of our goods that come into Canada come through Montreal, because there's a lot of ports in Montreal, right on the St. Lawrence, and it's important. It's an important logistical center for Canada. And so before this all happened in the 90s, there was a lot of business happening in Montreal, a lot of factories, a lot of manufacturing, and all of that, a good portion of that just packed up and left after all this nonsense started happening in the 90s with Quebec wanting to separate. I mean, all these big companies, they're in business. They really had no idea what was going to happen. It seemed like the province was incredibly unstable. There was talk about a lot of strange laws coming into play. So a lot of those businesses just packed up and left. And really, Montreal we're now in 2021, and I would say Montreal has made a good recovery, but it's taken a long time, and there's still areas of Montreal that look pretty rough, like abandoned buildings, abandoned factories, and it's not a pretty city in certain areas, largely in part because of what happened in the 90s. Now, I don't know why, but it seems like the Quebec politicians seem to think that it's a good idea to revisit those ideas. And lately with Bill 96, I think that's the one it is, Bill 96, There's going to be some new language laws coming into play, which will force a lot of, will put a lot of unnecessary strain on English businesses in Quebec. And not just English businesses, just all businesses in general. And keep in mind, it's not just English and French speaking people that live in Canada. We have cultures here from all around the world. So that's what Canada's about, you know. And in an era where we're trying to be so inclusive and, you know, non-discriminatory to cultures, this whole debate about the English and French language is really embarrassing. It's embarrassing, it's silly, childish, and it makes no sense. And the only thing it's going to accomplish is creating divisions between cultures and people and borders, and it's bad for business, it's bad for people, and it makes absolutely no sense. I'll give you a solid case for that. I have a good friend of mine that owns a gas station in Gracefield. I've actually filmed a video there recently, because I go there for some welding repairs every now and then. It's a good welding shop. But my friend is from Afghanistan. He owns Afghanistan. He owns the gas station, and he's a hard worker. Hard worker. He works every day, probably 12 hours a day. He doesn't do a whole lot else but just work. And he doesn't speak French. He hardly speaks English. And super great guy, super nice guy, and he's a good friend of mine. And now he is concerned that he is going to be shut down. Like, they're going to shut down his business because he is just not, he does not speak French. So now this is why that's stupid, because there are 2 gas stations in Gracefield. One of them is an Ultramar. That gas station is always jam-packed with people. Trailers, RVs, you know, transports come through there. It's busy. And Freddy's gas station is great because you can go there and get fuel, and there's never really like a long line, but he does a lot to alleviate the traffic at the other gas stations. So now we're going to close down that gas station because he doesn't speak French. That makes no sense. It makes no sense. And what good does that do for Gracefield? It serves nothing but to depress the town, to ruin the economy. In the Outaouais region, Gatineau region was extremely affected by the referendum in the 90s. We have a lot of Americans that come up here, bring their money, spend their money here. A lot of them have cottages here, vacationers, and they just stopped coming. A lot of those people sold their properties and just left, and it has had a huge effect on the economy in the Outaouais region. The Americans that still do come down here, they bring their food with them, they bring their belongings, they don't really spend money here anymore. So yeah, I don't really understand what the idea here is and what these politicians are trying to accomplish. And apparently our prime minister, our talking head prime minister here, Justin Trudeau, agrees with this bill, which makes absolutely no sense. If there's one culture that is actually in danger of being compromised, it's any of our Indigenous cultures here in Canada. All of those languages have been long forgotten, and I don't really see anybody concerned about that. But those are actual injustices, actual discrimination, and so maybe the French should be more concerned with that. I don't know. It's just silly, and but that's the way it is, I guess. If you have any thoughts on this, topic, please let me know in the comments section. And I'm really hoping for our country here to give our politicians in Canada to give their heads a shake. And you know, we've got a lot more serious concerns right now with climate change, and we just had a big flood in BC, so there are bigger fish to fry. And the more we kind of get caught up in all this language police stuff, it's a waste of time, a waste of money. It's not good for anybody. It makes no sense. And yeah, we gotta get our heads together here and start dealing with some actual problems. But anyways, you Ottawa Scotty, little political video here that I thought I'd speak on this, and let me know in the comment section if you have any thoughts on this particular topic, and we'll see you soon.